All right, hello. My name is Logan. I'm Caden's brother. And yep.
Best man.
Yeah. So I was told that the best man was supposed to say a speech, and I was like, oh, that's nice. That makes sense. That gives him the opportunity to tell everyone why he's the best man. That's a great idea. It took me a few weeks to realize that that's me. I'm the best man that's supposed to say that speech. So here goes nothing. So I've known Caden now for around 18 years, 5 months, and 10 days. And that doesn't mean I spent those 18 years, 5 months, and 10 days constantly with him. Thank goodness. You would think after all these years I would know him really well, but I don't have a clue what goes on in that guy's head. When you think he's thinking about an answer to the question you just asked, you would be wrong. He's actually thinking about the newest Rubik's Cube algorithm. And then he gets confused or you're getting mad at him that he's not listening to you. There's been a lot of times when I was playing a video game and did something really cool. And I mean really cool. I would yell, Caden, look what I just did. And after several attempts to get his attention, he would finally look with his head, but not his eyes. By the time he finally looked with his eyes, it was too late. He could no longer see the amazing thing I did. Caden really despised any sort of physical touch. And so me and him never got to experience the art of wrestling. Believe me, I tried every once in a while to maybe just give him a little push, and even that never went well. I lost my place. He would get so annoyed and confused on why I just pushed him out of nowhere. He would say something like, Logan, don't do that, that's not funny. There were also many times I would try to provoke him to push me, and he wouldn't. Everybody learned not to touch Caden. It was just something he didn't do. I remember this one time Caden got in trouble for wrestling. And when my mom was told this, she just laughed. She basically said, you got the wrong kid. Not a single person thought for even a second that Caden could be guilty of this crime. Physical touch also meant hugging. To be fair, it wasn't just Caden. Our whole family never really hugged. It was just weird to us, I guess. After a while, we were forced to hug a lot more, and every time I saw Caden hugging someone, it was one of the most awkward sights, to say the least. I'm not going to try to describe it. Luckily, he has gotten way better. He looks somewhat natural now when hugging people. All right, so I'm going to say some pros and cons about Caden. So who knows, maybe Alicia will find this valuable. So I'm going to do all the cons first, and then I'll end with pros. So Caden would do this thing where he would just whistle the entire time you're trying to talk to him. I don't know if this was like a nervous thing, but the thing is, he had no idea how to whistle. It was more of him blowing through his lips obnoxiously. To this day, I don't believe he can whistle. He'll tell you that he can, but he can't. There's this thing Caden would always do, and he would make up rules to a game. And if you didn't follow those rules, he was very unhappy. He would do it if we were at the park playing sports with friends, and he got so passionate about these rules. And everyone would argue with him about these rules. But it didn't matter. He was insistent. He made sure everyone played by those rules. Fine, you win. No one is allowed to have their hands in their pockets when they score a goal. I suppose this is a good thing, but man, it got me and my siblings' nerves. It would just always seem like Caden was perfect. And I know the Bible talks about how no one is perfect, but they wrote those verses before Caden's time. His perfectness even got on my parents' nerves sometimes. He got yelled at one time because he never eavesdropped. And that sounds like a good thing, but it was extremely inconvenient. He would never know what's going on around him. He'd be so confused when no one told him about a certain thing that was going on, even though he would literally be in the same room when everyone else heard it. He was always off in his own world. If there was something Caden didn't like doing, it was sharing. For example, he would never let anyone touch his blanket. Not that I ever wanted to. He was also really possessive of all his bedding. There was this one time when my mom was deathly ill and wanted to hang out in our room with us, and Caden wouldn't let her use his bed. However, he did eventually understand that was wrong, and grudgingly gave up his bed. It wasn't just bedding. It was anything that he could get germs from, like sharing his food or drink with someone. It wasn't until he went to college that he started to calm down a little bit. I remember him coming back from college and being so excited to tell us that he shared a jalapeno with one of his classmates. He was so impressed with himself for sharing food with someone. He said something like, "It was so easy. He took a bite, and then I took a bite. And it didn't bother me." Ever since he met this girl, Alicia, though, he doesn't care one bit about sharing. Those two share everything. Their fork, their spoon, their straw. I wouldn't be surprised if they shared the same toothbrush. Caden's biggest con is the fact that he doesn't like to do anything I liked. He played board games. And side note, I spelled board games as B-O-R-E-D, just because I thought that seemed more fitting. Basically, this one game called chess. Ugh. He also enjoyed school and learning. In fact, he loved learning so much that he said he wishes they had a job for that, learning all day. On the other hand, I liked, normal stuff, like sports and video games. I enjoyed this one game that Caden could never wrap his head around. This game was called Catch. Many of you probably know this game, but if you don't, it's where you throw a ball back and forth. That's it. Anyways, trust me, it's fun. Caden just saw it as stupid. He would say, "What's the point? There's no goal here. You're just doing the same thing over and over again." And I would try and convince him how fun it is, but that didn't seem to work. He was probably thinking something like, "I'll stick to chess." All right, now I got some pros. I got some pros. One of Caden's pros is he always made sure we got done what Mom/Dad told us to do. It definitely got us out of a lot of trouble. As often as I did, I would procrastinate on certain chores, and Caden would be sure to be the goody two-shoes that he is and make sure I got those chores done. I appreciate you, Caden. As many of you know, Caden is the oldest child, even though it may not seem like it. Caden being the oldest was a big pro. The reason for this is he was a great test drone. He would be put in something like sports or new school curriculum/college course, whatever it may be, he was the first to try it. And if it didn't go well, I wouldn't have to do it. But if it did go well, I got to enjoy whatever that activity may be. Caden was always a great example of a man of God. He always made sure we prayed before dinner or whenever there was something in our life that could be prayed for. There was a time in his life where he was immobile for around a year because of a disease. This angered me. I was questioning God's judgment. I remember me and him were in our room and I started crying, my eyes out. I was getting mad at God for not taking this away from him. We talked for a while and prayed together that night. That is one of my favorite memories. I didn't want to say this because I didn't want you to get a big head, but I think you deserve it. Caden, you're my favorite brother.